Today we are talking about TypeScript. So first thing, what is TypeScript and how is it different from JavaScript? So TypeScript is by definition, it is a superset of JavaScript. So if I say JavaScript is a smaller part of TypeScript, where TS or TypeScript is a bigger picture of JavaScript. So JavaScript lies inside TS, meaning if we think logically, TypeScript will have everything that JavaScript has, plus some extra things as well, because TypeScript is a superset. So everything we know or we have covered in JavaScript can be used with TS plus some extra things. What extra things? Things like data types. Mostly TypeScript is used to declare the type of the data that we are using. We will take multiple examples now to understand how it goes and what exactly do I mean by this. But when I say TypeScript data types, we know that we have certain type of data types in JavaScript also. For example, if we talk about very basic ones, it starts with number, string, boolean, arrays, and objects. These are the data types we have, and we of course have null and undefined as well. These are some basic data type that we are already aware of, and we are using it in almost all of our projects, be it vanilla JS, be it React, or any other. So that is common across all the libraries. Now, when we write the code, we never focus on the type of data we have in our JavaScript. But when you write the code in TypeScript, you always focus on the type of data because it has lots and lots of benefits. First, usage of TypeScript, that means strictly sticking to the data type, helps us in various ways. The most useful TypeScript becomes is to catch the errors at an early stage. What do I mean by that? Let's try to understand it better with the help of an example. I will create a simple JavaScript file, a simple test.js file. It's a basic JavaScript one. If I write some JavaScript code here, some very basic JavaScript code, say I will write an array called as users. Users could be an array where I will put the name of the users. So it is fine. I would say John, Jack, Alex, Peter, or anything. I could put any such value here. This is very simple line. It doesn't looks any different in JavaScript. Now I have declared an array, and now if I want to run some operation on it, for example, I want to run a loop on it. So I can run a loop on an array. If I want to run a loop, I will write users dot for each, correct? And inside for each, we give a callback function. So I will run a simple loop. Each time the loop runs in, I will get a value called as user or u, and I can perform any operation on this u, correct? For example, if I want to split this string in different parts, then I can use the method u dot split, and this will be the splitted data. You know that split method of JavaScript converts a string into an equivalent array. So if I do a console.log splitted data, then what do I see? Let's check its output first. Let's go to browser and try to run a code here. So when I run this code works without any error at all. Logically, the code is not doing a lot of things, but at least it is error free. Every item in our array got splitted. I mean, every string that we have got splitted into array. This was quite a simple thing. The operation I did is split. I can do any other thing also. So this is very fine item. But where the problem occurs, for example, by mistake, instead of an string in my array, I put some numbers. JavaScript is not going to throw me any error at all. JavaScript will say, okay, you want to insert string plus numbers into array. Fine, put it. Let's refresh the page and say this is my array of number and string. And now I will run the same loop. Let's run this loop. And when I run this loop, first two iteration were perfect because first two item were string. But I got an error. U.split is not a function. Why? Because the third item is not a string, it's a number. But the split method that I have written in my code is a string method. So I got an error. Now the problem here is VS Code didn't show me any error at the time of writing the code. The error actually came up at the runtime. And runtime is a very, very late stage. You can't do anything if you get an error at the runtime. If the same error would have been thrown in VS Code or at the time of development, it would be very easy for me to fix that error right here, correct? Before even running the code or before even deploying the code, it would have been very easy. But unfortunately, JavaScript doesn't give us this error. Because JavaScript's nature by default is dynamically typed. JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. Where TypeScript is a statically typed language. Now, what does it mean exactly? Dynamically typed meaning I can dynamically assign any value to any variable I want. Let's take a few more examples in JavaScript. I will take a variable, an extra variable, say price, and let me make it let instead of const, and I will assign some numerical value to price. This is fine. Now, since it's a let variable, I can reassign its value in JavaScript. So I can again write a new value to price, which is 5,000 for example. No worries, it is a perfectly correct statement. And here, if I do a console log of price and type of price, you know the type of operator in JavaScript gives us the data type of the variable. So let's print it before and after the assignment. So let's run this piece of code and the value's been assigned two times. First the 1, 2, 3, 4 and then the 5,000. And let's run this code and see what happens. So every time first 1, 2, 3, 4 came up with the data type is number, and second also 5,000 with a number. So every time the console says the data type is number. But at the time of declaring a variable, we have never mentioned it is of type number, right? We never mentioned it. So later, when I reassign the value of price, I can assign a string to it. And there is no error. See, price and type of price. And if I run this piece of code again, now I'm assigning the value 3 times. At first 2 times, I get a type as number, but this time I get a type as a string. Isn't it a problem? Why is it a problem? Because I have dynamically changed the data type of a variable, which is very, very dangerous. We must not change the data type. Initially, the data type of price was number. In the second assignment, it was a number, but in the third assignment, it became a string. And for the fourth assignment, without any problem, I can assign a Boolean value. I can assign any other value that I want without any error. But this is very dangerous because if I want to use any method on price, like to exponential, to fixed, etc., etc., these methods are specific to a data type. If you see, this is a number method, number dot to exponential. So initially the data type was number of price. So this method is supposed to work. But is this method supposed to work on a string? No, because this is a number type method. But our JavaScript does not have any idea whether the type of price is a number or a string or a boolean or something else. I can also write price dot for each. It doesn't make any sense, but I can still write it and there is no error at all. And I don't know what will happen if I run this piece of code. Let's have a look. So first few iteration went fine, but I get an error. 2 exponential is not a function because 2 exponential was a method of number. But at the time of running this code, the data type of price got changed from number to boolean, which is giving us an error. If I remove this line and then run the code again, now let's see what exactly happens. See, price.forEach is not a function. Why? Because forEach is a function or a method of arrays. But at the time of running this line, the data type of price was a boolean. But if you see here, initially the type is number. Later, line number 14, the data type got changed to price. But if I keep my cursor on line number 18, JavaScript has no idea that the data type has changed. It is still showing me that the price has data type as number. Now, this is where the problem occurs. This is the problem with JavaScript, that it does not have any idea what are you going to assign next to a variable, and it does not throw any error at all. Now, you don't know these type of problems while you are writing the code. All of these problem occurs only when you run the code. And if I talk about React project, running the code meaning when I have compiled the code, I have generated a build, I have deployed it somewhere on a server, and at the very later stage, I am getting an error. Very difficult and a hectic process to fix it and deploy it again. So did everybody understood what is the issue with JavaScript here? What type of problems does JavaScript gives us as it is a dynamically typed language? So this is an issue with JS. So how does TS or TypeScript solves this problem? Let's try to understand. TypeScript statically fix the data type of each variable and strictly adhere to it. It does not deviate from its path. For example, if I set the price as a number data type, I will not be allowed to change its value to a string or to a boolean or any other data type other than number. This is how TypeScript helps us. If you know languages like Java, .NET, which are very statically typed, you might know that to declare a variable, we have to write something like int price is equal to 1234, or maybe string name is some string, right? This is a general syntax of the statically typed programming languages, which already ensures that once the price is declared as an integer or a number, it must not change its data type going forward. So there will never be a problem. Price will only be applicable, I mean the methods to price will only be applicable which supports numbers. For name, only the allowed method will be of type string. There will be no other methods available and allowed to write. And these methods will be giving you an error at the time of writing the code or at the time of compilation. So this is a problem that we are going to solve with the help of TypeScript. Now, how do we use TypeScript? So TypeScript is nothing but a package, an npm package that we have called as TypeScript. Its name is TypeScript itself. So if you search about TS, you will get its package. Have a look. So this is the official TS package. And there are almost 60,000 other libraries dependent on this package, and it has zero dependency. It is the superset of JavaScript. And it says it is a language for application scale JS and blah, 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 so many things, large scale, etc., etc. So this is what TypeScript is used for. Now, in order to do some experiments on it, we have to install TypeScript. So I'm just going to install it. And not in my specific project, I'm going to install it globally to my system so that it remains available everywhere. So I will write npm I for npm installation. And I will use -g, meaning the global installation of TypeScript. Okay, there is some kind of error. Oh, I think I have written some incorrect spelling for TypeScript. Let me correct it. Okay. So it has installed the package globally for me. Now, we have to write the code into TypeScript first. And how do we do that? To do that, we have to create a TS file, .ts. Let's create an index.ts file. A TypeScript file has a different extension than the JS file. So we will use TS, stands for TypeScript. Now, how do we write the code in TypeScript? Everything that you know already in JavaScript can be written. For example, the same thing, price. I will delete the test file. I don't need it now. We will do the same experiments in the TS file. I will say price is equal to 123. Okay, no error. Hovering the mouse says price value is 123. Perfect. Now, if I assign a new value to a price to 1000, now why there is an error? Because I can't assign it to a constant variable. My mistake. Let me change it to let. And let's do the same consoles that we did earlier to print the price and the type of price. And after changing also, I'm going to print the same thing. Save. Now let me write something here. Say price is equal to A, B, C, D. And then I will console it. So did you notice one red line appearing on line number 7 here? Let's see what does it actually mean. It says type string is not assignable to type number. You cannot assign a string to a number type variable. Whereas this error was not available when we were writing the same code in JavaScript, remember? Let's try the Boolean assignment. Here I'm also getting the error which says type Boolean is not assignable to type number. This clearly says when you initialize the variable, the value which read by the JavaScript or TypeScript was of type number. So it has been fixed that the price will remain as a type number, not change to string or not to Boolean or any other data type. So it is giving you an error right here so that you don't have to go at the runtime to find these type of errors out there. Getting my point? Now browser does not understand TypeScript. The code that I have written is exactly similar to JavaScript. There is no change. So if I run this piece of code, this will exactly run on browser. The only reason is browser does not understand TypeScript. Browser only understands something called as JavaScript. And this code is just JavaScript. So it will keep on running like the last time because TS is only for development. TypeScript is only used for the development purpose. So .ts files are not going to get executed in the browser or anywhere in the Node.js environment. To run them, this ts file has to be converted into JavaScript. But you will say that this code is as good as JavaScript. So why does it matter? There is no extra syntax or something. The browser is directly reading it. Then what's the matter? So let's see what's the matter. We will not write these type of code every time. TypeScript says whenever you are declaring a variable, you have to specify the data type. And the syntax to do that is after the name of the variable, put a colon and write the data type. I will write number. This is the syntax of TypeScript, which is not available in JavaScript. But before writing colon number, it was still working fine. And after writing, it is still working fine. Then what's the difference? If I remove this number, the code is behaving the same way. So TypeScript takes two type of declaration. One is called as implicit and second is called as explicit. The implicit is also called as automatically. Automatic reading of the data type of a variable, and explicit means manual. So here the code is automatically reading the data type because on line number 1 we have assigned the value as a number. So TypeScript has inferred it as a number. So the first value was number. So TypeScript decided, okay, price is of type number and I will keep this number throughout the code. You see, price is of type number. Price is inferred as number. So this is called implicit declaration, automatically done by TypeScript. But you can also do it manually by just writing a colon and the data type. All the variables, sorry, all the data types like numbers, boolean, strings can be written here. Let's see. So if I write let username of type string is equal to and some value, for example, John. Now this is of type string, this has been fixed initially. And now the username can be reassigned to a different value, but the data type must not be changed. I cannot assign a number to it. It will give me an error saying number is not assignable to type string. So this is how we fix the data types into TypeScript. But then if I write this type of code and if I try to run it on my browser, let's try what happens. Better, let's go here. So it says unexpected token colon on line number 1 because JavaScript has no idea what does this part means. It is only for TypeScript. So browser will not care about TS at all. Browser will only care about JS. So we cannot run the TS files directly into browser or node environment. In browser, you know already how to run JavaScript files. Either you can copy paste the code or attach it to an HTML and load it. But do you know how to run it in the CLI environment? Okay, let me create a JS file. So this TS is not gonna work like this. Let me just simply comment. Now I want to convert this TS file to JS first of all. And to convert it, I need TypeScript. And we have already installed TypeScript. Let's verify its version. So the command is tsc for TypeScript and check its version. So some version is coming up, meaning it has been successfully installed. Simple. Once the installation is completed, then what do? We have to write tsc space the file name, that is index.ts. And when I run this code, let's see what happens. So it ran successfully. And on the left, you can see I now got a JS file. This JS file is equivalent to this TS file that we have written. See? Getting my point? Now this JS file can be run. The code was simple, so it worked properly without any issue. And now if I want to run this JS file, I have to write node space the JS file name index.js. And when I run it, I can simply see the outputs in my command line interface as well. This is how you run JavaScript files outside the browser environment. Again, what you have to do, you have to write the word node space the file name and it will run. Let's try running .ts file here and see what happens. So if I run ts file, now node is also reading the ts file. So in the background, or not in the background, in the command line terminal, the ts files are also being executed. But if I want to run it in browser, we have seen that browser does not understand the TypeScript syntaxes. So when we are doing the front-end development work, we have to read the file at the end in the browser, not in the command line. So we have to convert our TS files into JS files. So to convert .js files to .ts files, sorry, the opposite, .ts files to .js files, we give it to a transpiler, or it has to be transpiled through a transpiler. Remember something like Babel, which transpiles the file? So here TSC that we have written, TypeScript itself is a transpiler which transpiles the files from TS to JS, and then JS is being read by browser very easily. So this is the process we have to follow. But the code looks same for now. What is written in TS is exactly the same in JS. Some minor changes, where came up, and no data type is there. So things became simple, but the code will not always look this simple. We have to deep dive into it. So why is it still giving me an error? Cannot redeclare block scope variable username. Okay, because it is there in the JS files also. Let me delete the output JS file and let's write some extra code. Now, let's take an array, users array that we were working initially with John, Jack, Alex. This was our array initially. And then we were running simply a loop, if you remember, for each loop, where I will get u and simply splitting u dot split. And this was giving me the splitted value. Remember the same example? Now, if you see this array, this is an array of strings. So this code will work totally fine. We have already seen it in the browser. Let's see one more time. And this works without any problem. But now let's try to add some extra value. What if I add 1, 2, 3 here? As and when I have added a value, now I'm seeing an error on the split method. Why? See, it says property split does not exist on type, string, or number. This is an OR operator. Or in TypeScript, we call it as a union operator. We will learn about union in some time. But it says if you are using both, then it is a problem because a split property does not exist on type number. You have used either a number or a string. And on number, this property is not applicable. It can only be applied on string. That is why we have an error here right away. So it gives us a problem. So it has stopped us right here saying, boss, you will get an error. Don't run this code. Now, if I remove 1, 2, 3, now the error will be removed because everything is a string and it's fine. If I hover on user, you see it is saying a string and empty bracket. This is how we represent arrays in TypeScript. This is how we write the declare these TypeScript arrays. Array of type string. So I can also mention this is an implicit type in reading. I can also explicitly mention it colon string array. So it will now be declared as an array of strings. Even if I don't put it, implicitly it has been understood that okay, this is an array of strings. But if I insert some value like a number, then what will be automatic data type? Let's find out. Now it has become an array of string or number, or I will say union. A union of a string and a number is shown here. So you can only use the method which are common to number and string. So split is not a number method, only a string method. So we are getting an error. But if I put a comma, dot, I get 3 suggestions from VS Code. These three methods are common to number as well as common to string. That is the reason we are getting it. If you have ever paid attention to the comments or to the documentation of VS Code, it clearly says everything when you write it. What data type it supports, what does it returns. So it says it's a method works on string plus two overload. That means two different data types also are available for this method. Two string method works on string plus one other data type, one overload. And last, value of it works on string union number, meaning both of them. So that is why only the common methods are available. So understood how did TypeScript prevented errors at the time of development? So I'll undo it. Now, here we have specifically written the data. So we got a data type automatically or manually from TypeScript. But what if I just keep a variable let's say product and do not assign a value to it? Here in the other example, we have assigned some value. So TS was able to understand its data type, but here there is no value assigned. Undefined, of course, the value when JavaScript assigns to a variable where we haven't given any value is undefined. Here, if I hover on this, I see the type is any. In TypeScript, when you do not specifically assign a data type or a value, it has a new data type called as any. And any is a very dangerous data type, meaning it can have any value, any data type. It says variable product implicitly has any type, but a better type may be inferred from usage. It is saying since you do not assign any value, implicitly TS has inferred any type. And any should never ever be used in TypeScript. Because writing any, meaning it can have any data type. It can have a string, it can have a number, it can have a boolean. So if it can have anything, then what is the point of having TypeScript at all, right? So having any type in TypeScript is equivalent to JavaScript without using TS. So we must never ever have any data type. Make it a rule. Most of the developer write any data type as a skip of TypeScript. You can skip data type just by writing any and then assign any value to it, whatever you want, without any problem. But this should never be done unless it is really important, because using any is not helpful at all. So do not use any when you are writing TypeScript. But any, you might find it in the code. Some people still use it because if you write any, it stops giving you any error. For example, let's try this example. I write 1, 2, 3. And if I make it as an array of anything, I have written array of any. Now the error is removed. Then what's the point of having it? I will still get an error because there is a number and split method does not work on number. So any must not be used at all. So we must avoid any as the next item. Going forward, we must understood how to work with all the data types. So we have understood numbers, strings, booleans, and arrays also. Now this is how you declare array of anything. If you want to declare array of string, this is what you write. If you want array of number, this is what you write. Array of boolean, array of anything that you want. This is how you write. Now, there is one similar syntax that you will see. Something like this. What does this mean? It means the array can have only two items. The first item should be of type number. The second item should be of type string. So I can give something like 1, comma John. Getting my point? First item should be of type number, second should be of type string. Then what would be the third type? Third type cannot be allowed. Why? Because number string. See, we have assigned number string. What does it say? Number string is not assignable to number string because the data type is number string. It has only 2 elements, but you are giving 3. It has clearly mentioned source has 3 elements, but target allows only 2. So we cannot do this. So what is the difference between this and this? Let me make it an array of string again. So what is the difference between them? This is array of strings. This is array of number comma string. In TypeScript, this is called as a tuple or tuple, whatever you want to understand. This is called as a tuple, where you fix the length of the array. It has a fixed length. Remember, this array can now only have 2 items. More than 2 or less than 2 are not allowed. Even if I remove one item, I will still get an error. String is not assignable to type number because first item is supposed to be a number and you have given first is a string. So it has to have a strict length of 2 items. Whereas this is our regular array of dynamic length. I can add as many items as I want. It's just, it has to be a string. Rest, you can put whatever you want. But here you have to strictly restrict the length of the array. And such arrays in TypeScript is called as a tuple. Is it clear to us? What's a tuple? They are rarely used because of their strictness of size. So I can then say something as a products, and I can give it as a number, a string, and a string. So this will become an array of 3 items. What? An array of product number, say 1, ID, product ID 1, and the title as a laptop, and then the description. Blah, blah, blah. So this is called as a tuple. So you might see these two type of things. You must not be confused. Which one is an array, which one is a tuple? Both are practically arrays, but one is dynamic length array, one is static length array. And we rarely, very, very rarely use the static length arrays. Always we use the dynamic ones. Now, most of the times when we will write the code in React with TypeScript, we have to declare arrays and objects. We rarely use the other things. I mean, we do, but most of the times we will be declaring the arrays and objects. So now we have to understand how to declare objects. So now the last thing remaining is to declare the object. What is an object and how does an object work? So to understand object, we have to write the shape of the object. For example, if I write user detail, okay, we have written so many things. Let me just comment out everything. Now, how do you work with object? You have to write user detail. And user detail is typically an object where you give so many things. ID as what, one, name, right? And then you give your phone number. So many things about a user you give. All right. So how do you define this? In JavaScript, we never define anything. We simply keep adding the keys to it and work on top of it. Now, this way of writing is also not very safe because in this object, I can add more key value pairs. Which type of key value pair? I can write user detail dot, and I want to add some new key called as email. And I can simply add it in JavaScript like this. True. This is a TypeScript file. So it is giving me an error that email does not exist on type. This object does not have a key called email, so you cannot add a new key value pair. But if I talk about JavaScript, will JavaScript ever prevent it? No, JavaScript will not prevent it. JavaScript will execute it, and when I see the user details, I can see the email property got added dynamically. But TypeScript does not allow such thing. TypeScript says you have to fix the keys in your object with their data type, and you must not change them at all. Here, the initialization that you have given to the object is inferred by TypeScript and says, okay, you have given 4 key value pair, first of type number, other 3 of type string. This has become the shape of your object. It should have 4 key value pairs, ID should be of number, and other 3 are of type string. Have a look. This is the shape of my object. ID, number, name, string, address string, mobile number string. No extra key value pair is allowed. Plus, the data types must not be changed. This is called the shape of an object. And this is what we refer as interface in TypeScript. So if I created something like this, that user detail, and I cannot of course assign the email, but this is a user's data. Now if I want to create another user with the same data shape, see, user detail is a type of data now for us. And now if I want to create more users, const user detail 2, I can have anything. I can just have 2 key value pair, and I can assign an invalid value to it. Try to understand what I'm saying. First object has 4 key value pair, second has 3. Second has mobile number boolean, first has mobile number as a string. Isn't it an inconsistent set of data? Both are representing the exact same user, but their keys differs. This is a problem. We must have a uniform type of data. Then I have to think of something so that all the users that I write must follow a specific shape. That shape is called as interface. So to make all the user type objects as a strict data type, I have to write an interface. I will write something called as interface, and let's give it a name as user. Interface is a data type in TypeScript, or I can say a collection of data type which says about the shape of an object. So here, interface has a name. I am giving it as a name user. You can give anything. I mean, name is not a problem. Product, user, whatever you want to say. Generally, this represents an entity. That means a type of data. User is an entity. Product is an entity for us. So I write interface in all small letter, and the name. Name follows Pascal case. We use Pascal case. You know, right? What is Pascal case and what is camel case? There are 3 different type of cases. I have written all 3 examples above, and this is followed by Pascal case. In this, we have to define the shape. So shape says ID should be of type number, and this should be separated by a semicolon. Then name must be of type string, address must be of type string, and mobile number also must be of type string. This is the shape. Now every time when I'm writing the user, I want every user to have these key value pair of these types. So how do I make sure? After writing the name of the variable, colon, and the type, that this object is of type user now. So this shape is strictly followed by this data type. Now you see ID is a number. Name is a string, address is a string, mobile is a string. So it is working perfectly fine without any error. Let's associate this user with user detail 2. And when I do this, you see I'm getting an error on the mobile number field. Boolean is not assignable to type string. Why? Because mobile number's value is supposed to be a string, and what I have given is a Boolean value. That is the problem here. Getting my point? This is the issue. So this is not allowed here. I must assign mobile number as a string. But still I'm getting an error. Why? Now mobile number is a string, then why is there any error here? Property address is missing, but it is required in user. See? Comma, I'll put here. So it says there is still one property missing called as address, and I have written address also. So I can write address and then the error will disappear. So now did you understood how are we strictly following it? Strictly following the data types. Now let's understand how do I make a field optional. There may be some scenario that there must be an optional field in my code, in my object. For example, email. I don't want to write email mandatorily. If I add email to my interface, now both variables says email is missing. So I have to write email. But what if I want to make email as optional? We can make any field as optional. To make a field as optional, just put a question mark here before the colon. This becomes an optional field. So you can ignore that field also. Now the error is gone. You want to add email, you can add email. If you don't, it's fine. See, one place there is an email, one place there is no email. It is both okay because email is an optional field. But if I remove the optional symbol, now it became mandatory. So this is how you make a field as mandatory or optional in TypeScript. I hope this is also clear to everyone in TypeScript. Now this is a TS file with the interface that we have written. Now what if I want to convert it into JavaScript file to run on front end? I have to write tsc space the name of the file, which is nothing but index.txt. Let's run it. And it should generate a JS file for me now. A JS file. Let's open a JS file. See, it has very easy items. It has strictly mentioned these things. The other things got removed because we have commented out everything and now it has the data. So you see it has simplified the code so that it can now work on browser. But it will only prevent you at the time of writing the code. So if you are writing the code in TypeScript, it will take more time to write the code, but it will save a lot of time when the code goes to production because there will be less errors. I will not say zero errors, but very less errors so that your time will be saved. I hope this also makes sense to everybody. So this is how we write interfaces. You can create multiple interfaces for multiple data types and associate them here to work with. We will also see enums, how enums works and types work. There are two remaining data types. And we will also see how to initialize an independent project in TypeScript. So it is clear and you understood how does TypeScript helps us in lot of different ways.